Nicola Hill, who joins us now from London. Nicola, Melinda, in her report, she was mentioning the situation in the UK. 350 million doses that have been ordered from 6 vaccine producers. There are a lot of blanks that need to be filled here in the meantime, but talk to us about how this vaccination plan is going to work in the UK.
Yes, it's going to be a major production, isn't it? But the government says it's preparing for it. They've actually appointed a minister, a new health minister, specifically to oversee the rollout of this plan. So we're expecting the first regulatory approval for the Pfizer-biontech vaccine to come, and rumours are it could be as early as this week, maybe next week or the week after. Who gets it first? Good question. Because of this particular vaccine needs to be stored at -70 and it can only be moved a certain number of times, it's likely it's going to be going straight to hospitals, and it will be NHS staff who will get it first, those frontline workers. This has caused a bit of a controversy here in the UK because the government had promised that the elderly, particularly the elderly vulnerable in care homes, who often have not been able to see any relatives since the first lockdown, would be the first people to get it. But it seems you can only move the Pfizer-biontech vaccine a certain number of times, which is why it's likely to go to NHS workers. And it's a 2-dose vaccine, so if they do get it this week or next week, they then have to have a second dose 3 weeks later, and they won't actually be immune until 2 weeks after that. So anybody who gets vaccinated isn't immune straight away, and that's a really important point to highlight there. Also, they'll be monitored for 15 minutes just to see if there is any allergic reaction, and they have to socially distance whilst they're doing that. And they will have to carry on certain precautions until they do have this immunity. Of course, these Pfizer-biontech or the Moderna vaccines are both promising 95% efficacy, which is quite amazing. Of course, the easiest one to give to people is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. It doesn't have to be kept at such cold temperatures, and it's a lot cheaper. So the government here is hoping that the regulatory authorities will approve that one as soon as possible. After NHS workers, the elderly, the people who've got underlying health conditions, it's then ages. It goes down in ages. So the young people will be the last to be vaccinated.
Okay. So what you're saying is the Pfizer-biontech one could start as before Christmas. That is a possibility. And I understand the frontline workers and the elderly people being vaccinated first. But the question is, when you look at the general public, how many of them are willing to get vaccinated? Because there is this idea of vaccine hesitancy out there, because a lot of these vaccines have been developed fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's something that, you know, it's quite understandable in a way, isn't it? You know, normally vaccine takes 10 years, these have taken 10 months. But the scientists emphasise that these have been made just as safely as any other vaccines. The reason they've been able to absolutely condense the time is because of several things. The first being the amount of money that's been thrown at the development of these vaccines. You've had governments around the world giving billions of dollars to it. The fact that you've got so much of the virus circulating means that any trial is able to be done so much more quickly than ordinarily in the case, because people come into contact with the virus. You've got scientists who've been working round the clock 24/7 and sharing knowledge as well. Then you've got the altruistic volunteers who've been willing to join these thousands of trial sites that have been set up globally. And also, very, very importantly, the regulatory authorities have been doing what's called a rolling review. They've been looking at the science as it's been developed, looking to see what how the vaccines phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials are being run. Ordinarily, they wait until everything's done, then they're given all this data, which can take years for them to go through. So that's why it's been done so quickly. And that's why the scientists are saying that the same safety checks are in place as are normally when you take 10 years to develop a vaccine. But you're right, you have got a lot of people who are hesitant. When I went in the streets of London last week for TRT World and stopped people and asked if they would take the vaccine, it was amazing how many people said, oh no, I'd rather wait until someone else has done it. Well, if you do that, we're going to stay in this lockdown forever. So that's why certainly here in the UK, the NHS is planning to use celebrities. They're going to use media medics, doctors who appear on television a lot. They're asking possibly the royal family and influencers, certainly to target the young, to encourage people to get vaccinated. And they're going to be recruiting armies of volunteers, and they're going to set up vaccination hubs around the country to do this. So it's going to be interesting to see this massive push to persuade us all to go and get the jab. And all the scientists I've spoken to have said they're going to be first in line, as will I.
All right, Nicola Hill live for us in London. Also a reminder here on the News Hour, every day we'll be looking at a different region on how that particular region will be rolling out the vaccine. Nicola, for now, thank you very much.